I'm Scott Finley. I've actually been with Cardinal Health for about 12 years. I actually kind of started in an analytics role. So Cardinal Health is obviously, we're a healthcare products and services, and we kind of primarily focus in the distribution of products. So medical products, pharmaceutical products, nuclear, specialty. But my particular segment deals with pharmaceutical distribution. So we deal with anything with brand, generic drugs, anything you would see you get at a pharmacy or a CVS or something like that. So when I look at my roles and responsibilities, I'm in charge of an analytics group, and our main metrics are looking to improve service level to the customer and also reducing the inventory on hand that we have. So how do we get the biggest bang for our buck when we make an inventory investment? So that ranges from kind of any variety of aspects we can look into. And we have pretty much free reign to look into transportation, labor, network design, inbound, and kind of anything in between there. So for us, I have about 6 people in my group, but we're also traditionally a little fragmented. So the analytics groups are usually attached to business units. So we're attached to procurement in our particular segment, but then we also have a transportation and labor that's attached to like the DC operations. But as we've seen, we've got more optimized. We've seen that a natural kind of grassroots campaign that we've kind of come together. And even though we're not directly organizationally tied together, you know, from our manager as the same manager, we work together very closely to kind of compare notes and work together. And it's also kind of one of the reasons we went to LLamasoft, to have a common platform to work in. We were doing all like the analytics piece. We were growing in analytics, so we'd made large investments in some other softwares and talent. So we were bringing in the PhDs, we were bringing in the grad students and all that stuff to bring in the talent. And we were doing a lot of things we were buying like programming languages and things like that, where the PhDs were starting from scratch, building models. We give them a problem, and 4 months later they come back with a model for us to test that we would say, that really wasn't what we were looking for, and it wasn't the thing that we needed. So that's where we kind of started the journey of like, we need to find a better way to do this. I mean, we could hire more PhDs and more analytics people to churn through more work, but we needed answers faster. We needed to find a way to not answer a question in 2 months, but we needed an answer that they actually wanted the answer yesterday. So how do we get the answer today or within the week and things like that, and be able to actually have more informed decisions on more of a day-to-day basis. So as I was kind of talking before, we had like our different analytics groups that were kind of working problems separately. So we had a trans problem. They were working on the trans budget. We were working on the inventory budget. Someone's working on the labor budget, and never did those plans ever come together. So we were looking for something that was going to take all those 3 factors into account at the same time and optimize the network, not just optimize inventory, not just optimize labor or transportation and things like that. And how do we decide when we're going to make trade-offs? There's a lot of instances in our network where adding millions of dollars of transportation would save us, $10–15 million of inventory carrying costs. And those were things that were hard to navigate through the budget. So the budgets didn't meet together, but using that in a common model allowed us to then take that information, take it to an executive level, and let them dictate budgets back down so that we could realize those savings, where we were going to be sacrificing one department to get bigger gains in another department. So we actually went through quite an extensive process. So we actually put together a project with funding to actually go after this and try to make the best decision we could. So our first step was to reach out to Gartner, ask for who are all the players in this market, what are even all the options, and then we started bringing all those people in, started doing the assessment and stuff like that. And with LLamasoft, the first thing we were kind of looking at is supply chain guru. And that was kind of our main focus. It kind of really was tying together those factors that we needed. And it also had more of a user interface that didn't require a programmer to be on staff, which was, that's hard to do. It's hard to get a supply chain expert who's a programmer, who's a modeler. And you don't want to have to hire someone that's a jack of all trades, because you can't afford those people, or they've moved up and they're not interested in those type of roles anymore. So we needed something that was more user-friendly, something that you could give a person, they could learn, had training opportunities. So a lot of the other softwares, if they're more closer to scripting languages, like there really wasn't good classes to send them to, or organized, or trained. And LLamasoft was close. We could travel there. That made it really convenient for us to actually go to those trainings, have them come to us and things like that. So if you count like our kind of trial period where we're going through that for about 6 months, we've been using for about 2 years now. And luckily, when we were going through that trial period, we're kind of doing a proof of concept that actually turned out to be pretty much our first project. So one of the biggest projects we've kind of done is analyzing our internal network. So determining when our shipments should be, how often they should be, what should we be spending on trans, how much does that affect labor and things like that. And that's where we're looking to make quite a significant investment in our transportation budget this year to actually receive around a $10 million decrease in our carrying costs on our inventory with our internal network. And that's a big improvement for us, and especially we're able to do that in a pretty quick timeline. Some of the other big benefits are a lot of things we aren't even seeing results on. So there are things like people ask questions of, is this a good idea to open a DC here or close a DC here? And even though they didn't pan out or do tangible results, we were able to answer those questions in a day, where normally, I guess if you consider the labor costs, we would have taken someone 70, 80, 90 hours worth of work to actually do that analysis and then come back when probably that person didn't even care anymore about that question. Like they've already forgotten about it and they're like, oh yeah, I wasn't even worried about it anymore. So being able to have that quick turnaround time, it also gives us a lot of credibility. So, and also has gotten us a lot of work. So we get a lot more questions than we used to, but that's in a good way. So people are asking questions that actually drive for us to have data-driven decision-making that happens when you start talking about network flow, transportation, opening, closing DCs, moving customers in and out of different ship points and things like that. And that's been a real win for us. So I would actually recommend kind of going down the path we did. So, I mean, if you have access to Gartner or something like that, look at all the options that are out there. I think you're probably going to see that LLamasoft is an industry leader, and that's a good place you want to be. You want to have a partner that's continually upgrading. We even talked about things like LLamasoft is continually giving updates. They're not on a yearly or bi-yearly upgrade cycle. You're getting updates monthly. Customer service, you can talk to them. If you find an issue that you're having with the software, they might deliver that patch or fix for you within a day or a week. And that's been a really big benefit for us. And if you search through all the other competitors and the other opportunities you have, I don't think you're going to find that type of thing. But I would recommend that you do your due diligence and look at those options. But I kind of suspect that you'll come back to LLamasoft after you do that. And that's what happened for us. We did a long assessment, 6 months, had a lot of IT staff, business staff, upper management, actual users, all looking at the same problem and the same software solutions, and it all kind of pointed back to sticking with LLamasoft. So I think it's the biggest opportunity is going to be optimizing the whole supply chain from manufacturing all the way down to the actual patient or customer for us in healthcare. And it's how do you tie all those supply chains together and work in collaboration. So right now, the manufacturer has their supply chain, the distributor has their supply chain, which is us, and then the customer might have their own supply chain depending on their size. And those supply chains don't meet up. And when you think about one of the big factors in healthcare today is the cost, things that aren't traveling towards the end patient at any given time is a wasteful product. So shipping a product from New York to us in Ohio, then out to Tennessee, and then it goes back up to New York. Well, there's a lot of waste in that process. And being able to combine our networks together to figure out really what is the best path to get to, I think that's really going to be a real difference maker in supply chain speed, reliability, and things like that.